Ooh, what's up, everybody? My name is OMG WTF LOL BRB. Welcome back to more Total Extreme Wrestling. We are playing as the IWC, our own created company, to take on this local to global challenge. We, of course, are still a local company, still in the first year, but I guess now we are officially in the second year of our local to global challenge. We are in the year 1971 now. So this episode is not going to be an episode about the actual program. It's not going to be a show. We're not booking anything. So sorry to upset some of you guys if that's what you were looking forward to, but what we're going to be doing here in this episode is we're just going to be exploring the world, all the rewards for the last year, how certain companies are doing, like the WWE, or I guess the WWF, WCW, NWA, a lot of the bigger companies at this time, seeing who's champion, seeing how everything is going, and just kind of exploring the world, seeing what's gone on in the past year, and at the same time, give you guys a little bit of insight of what I want to do in the next year, or I guess this upcoming year, for the IWC in this game. So we've got that to look forward to, so let's just stop wasting time, because this video might be a bit on the long side, and let us go ahead and start this video. So we got a Wrestler of the Year right here, as you guys can clearly tell. For the first time ever, John Cortes. Now, of course, I don't know who John Cortes is. I'm sure I don't know who many of these wrestlers are. They're a lot older, and it's not my generation, so I'll be honest with you. Unless they were popular in my time, I probably won't recognize them. But anyway, John Cortes was declared the Wrestler of the Year, and interesting enough here is all these people, this is the first person to win these awards ever in our game. So there's nobody for 1969 or any other year. So 1970 is going to be the first wrestling year, apparently, in our game here. And John Cortes is the very first ever Wrestler of the Year, and everybody from this point forward will be the first ever, Company of the Year, the first ever Women's Wrestler of the Year, so on and so forth. So John Cortes, the Wrestler of the Year. He's an English wrestler based in South British Isles, and he works for DMP and MBP. Not really sure what either of those companies are, so sorry. He does got really good skills, though. Overall performance is an A. I wonder if him winning this award affects his popularity at all, because I've noticed with certain people that their popularity goes up when they get certain things. Like, for instance, a lot of people who have become or gotten movie roles are superstars now because they've been in a movie. So I'm curious to see if him winning this award affected his pop at all over in England. Then again, it looks like it might have affected it okay, never mind. I was going to say, it looks like it might have affected it in other places he wasn't popular, but I don't think so. Yeah, doesn't look like it did much to increase or decrease his popularity. Let's go ahead and look at some of his matches here. His top 10 matches, he's got, 6 A-rated matches. One's an A-star. John Cortes going over Mike Mariano twice is his 2 best matches. Zoltan Boskic, Steve Logan, another Zoltan Boskic. He actually lost a match against Mike McManus, so there you go there. Defeated Joff Ports. Again, Zoltan Boskic lost the Joff Ports as well, and beat Sean Reagan. So if we look at his match history, he's apparently 67-2-22. Not too shabby there, Mr. John. Unfortunately, we can't hire him. He's not based, or he doesn't work in America, so it's a shame, but he'll probably be too expensive anyway. We go to our Company of the Year, which will be the AWA, the American Wrestling Association, not the All American Wrestling Association. We'll check them out. I might as well check them out now. Owner is going to be Vern Gagne, Booker, Wally Carbaro. They are, I don't know if they're the most popular, to be honest. We can go ahead and tour their company. They are ranked number 6 out of 38 in the world, and they are the second richest company in the game. Wow. And some of their more popular stars are the AWA World Champion Vern Gagne, Dr. X, who's a true locker room leader, Mad Dog Vachon, another locker room leader, The Crusher, masterful on the microphone, and Eduardo Capetir. I'm not sure if I pronounced that right. Also a locker room leader. Let's go ahead and look at their teams. So they got the Chain Gang, Jim Dillinger and Jack Dillinger. The Chain Gang 1, I should say. Counter Punch, Princess Little Cloud and Debbie Johnson. And the Silent Rage, Black Jack Daniels and Jim Vallon. I think I wanted to look at their titles, not their teams, but must have clicked on the wrong thing. So let's go to their championships. We got a mid-card title here, which is the AWA British Empire Championship. And it looks like Billy Red Lyons, I think he started the year with the championship because he lost it in June of 1970. So that was then picked up by Lars Anderson, and then in October he lost it to Leroy Hirsch. We then move on to yet another mid-card championship, the AWA Midwest Heavyweight Championship. I'm not going to go over all the history, just kind of going to go over where it started out in our game. So it looks like Tarzan Tyler started off as champion, lost the championship in May of 1970. It was actually vacated, so he must have been injured or something. And then went to Stan Poloski, who was actually a two-time champion. And then he lost it to Wilbur Snyder in July of 1970, who had to vacate the championship as well, and then Bob Windham picked it up. And now it is Pepper Gomez who is the champion. Sorry, my nose is running today, so if you hear me do that a lot, my apologies. The AWA Midwest Tag Team Championships are actually vacant right now. I'm actually wondering why. It looks like they just became vacant because it looks, week 1, January 1971. We haven't moved anywhere, so it looks like these titles have just become vacant. It makes me wonder if Billy Red Lyons or Red Bastion left. But either way, it started off with Reggie Parks and Stan Poloski, and then went to Blackjack Lanza and Wilbur Snyder, who then had to vacate the titles. Then Leroy Hirsch and Stan Poloski. And then Tor Kamada and Moose Cholak, or whatever that is. Then they had to vacate it, and then it went to Billy Red Lyons and Red Bastion, who also just vacated the titles. We then have our AWA Women's World Championship. We started off the game with Kay Noble as our champion, who then had to vacate the championship. That's a shame. Actually, she wasn't our champion. We started out with the title vacated. Yeah, the title was vacated when we opened up, so never mind. It then went to Princess Little Cloud, then Natasha, and then finally Debbie Johnson. Let's skip the world title. We'll save that for last. Also, the AWA World Tag Team Championships are vacant. Huh. At least they weren't vacated this, today. So he started off with Butcher Vachon and Mad Dog Vachon as the champions for the AWA, and then Reggie Parks and Joe Scarpallo were the champions, so they had to vacate it. And then finally, moving on to the AWA World Championship, we started off with Vern Gagne on his 9th reign as the champion, and then went to the Crusher, who defeated Vern in May 1977. Vern Gagne got the title back in July of 1977. So that didn't last long for the Crusher. Became a 10-time champion at that moment. And then Bobo Brazil became champion in November of 1970 and held on to it until December. So not a long reign for him as well, before losing it back to Vern Gagne, who is now a 11-time champion. So we could look at their top 100. That'll be how we look at some of their better matches. So some of their best matches we've seen were Dr. X going over Harley Race, which got, I believe that's a 93 or a 95 solid A. Vern Gagne going over Bobo Brazil with a 92 solid A. Vern Gagne going over Bill Watts with a 91 solid A. Vern Gagne once again going over Bobo Brazil. I believe that's a 90 solid A. Can't talk right now. Bobo Brazil going over Vern Gagne at number 5 with, I believe, another 90. Although that kind of looks like a 3, but I doubt it would be lower if it's a 3. And then in number 6, we got Vern Gagne taking on Bobo Brazil as well. Looks like these guys had some possibly good chemistry or something. Also a 90 rated. Bill Watts going over Blackjack Lanza. Looks like that got a... Is that an 89? It looks like a 9 at the end. Sometimes these are hard to read. Luke Graham going over Dr. X with another solid A rated. Vern Gagne going over Luke Graham with another solid A. And Dr. X going over Baron Von Raschke with another solid A. So A's all over the board for their best matches. And that's about it. I'm not going to go over their attendances because it's pretty much the name of every show. AWA house show, end of show month, stuff like that. So I'm not going to go over that kind of stuff. Congrats goes out to the AWA, though. And then we got our team of the year, which goes to the Blonde Bombers, Rip Hawk and Swede Hansen. Now, this is Rip Hawk. They are currently champions, actually, it looks like. I'm not sure where. Oh, boy, I might have to sneeze. My apologies if it is coming. I went ahead and muted the mic so you didn't have to see it, but whew, that came out of nowhere. Our match of the year was from an MPB house show where John Cortes defeated Mike Mariano. So I think that was the match we saw earlier with John Cortes, his best match. So not only is John Cortes' best match his best match, but it is the best match of the year, or of 1970, we should say. Show of the year went out to American Wrestling Association, which was held in October. So, of course, one of their probably house shows or something stupid like that. But there we go. Yeah, there you say house show. No, it said October. Interesting. How it's not showing that as their best show, but the game awarded it the best show. Huh. It doesn't matter to me much. Our Young Wrestler of the Year goes out to Dick Murdoch. That name kind of sounds familiar to me. 24 years old. Let's look at some of his characters. Nah, Ron Carson doesn't sound familiar. Dick Murdoch sounds more. Works for JWA as a lower mid-carder. Let's look at some of his top matches. So let's see him going over Ernie Ladd is his best match. Or not him going over, but going under to Bernie Ladd is one of his best matches, what looks like to be an 82. Number 2 at going under Killer Carl Cox, the solid B. And then Danny Hodge defeating Dick Murdoch, another solid B. Dick Murdoch getting a win here against Killer Carl Cox. Ernie Ladd defeated Dick Murdoch. Killer Carl Cox defeated Dick Murdoch by DQ. Then went to no contest with Dick Murdoch. Murdoch and Bob defeated the KKK and Shane. What? Holy crap. Ernie Ladd defeated Dick Murdoch and Killer Carl Cox. So Dick Murdoch lost a lot, it would seem. In fact, I'm curious. Let's go to his match history. 66 wins, 4 losses, and 4 draws and 39 losses. So he didn't lose that much, but a lot of his better matches see him losing. He's got popularity, nothing too special. His skills are pretty damn good, to be honest. So he works in America, Mid-South. How much would it be to about 1,300? We'll put him on the short list for now, but I don't know if I'll be hiring him anytime soon. All right, we then go to our Veteran Wrestler of the Year, which is Vern Gagne. Now we kind of already took a look at Vern Gagne, but let's go ahead and look at him again. 44 years old. He's loyal to the AWA, so we'll never be able to sign this guy unless AWA closes their doors. He works for the AWA, works for BTW. He's the current world champion, and in fact, he's number 2 ranked in the Power 500. We'll take a look at that in just a few, though. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of his top matches. Him going over Bobo Brazil is at number 1. Vern Gagne defeating Bill Watts. Vern Gagne defeating Bobo Brazil. Bobo Brazil defeating Vern Gagne. Didn't we read all of these already, I feel? I don't know why. Maybe it was the AWA, that's what it was. Because they have the same matches. Never mind. Bobo Brazil beating Vern Gagne. Vern Gagne defeating Bobo Brazil. Vern Gagne defeating Luke Graham. And also defeating Luke Graham is his top 7 matches with all A's. And then the final 3 are actually B+. So he goes over Luke Graham twice with 8 and 9. And then in the main event at number 10, Vern Gagne defeating Bobo Brazil. Took on them a lot, it looks like. Let's go ahead and look at his pop. He's actually, he's pretty good. Good popularity for what year we're in. And great skills, of course, as you can tell. All right. And then our Female Wrestler of the Year is Sherry Lee. Sherry Lee works for JCP. I think that's Jimmy Crockett Promotions. Her popularity is pretty decent for, being in the year that we're in. Skills, not too shabby. Not too shabby indeed. And let's go ahead and look at her match history real quick. Her record was 28-1 and 24. Oh boy. And let's go ahead and take a look at some of her top matches. So at number 1, we got Paula Kay defeating Sherry Lee by DQ. Got a B-. Sherry Lee going over Sue Green by countout. Got a B-. Tony Rose going over Sherry Lee with a B- as well. In fact, every match up till number 7 is going to be a B-, so I'm not going to read that. Paula Kay going over Sherry Lee at number 4. Paula Kay going over Sherry Lee at number 5. Sherry Lee defeating Princess White Cloud at number 6. And then Sherry Lee defeating Natasha at number 7. And then finally, we got all these C+ matches at the end. The final 3, Sherry Lee going over Natasha, Paula Kay going over Sherry Lee, and then Sherry Lee going over Paula Kay. Again, you see a lot of the same people they fight. I wonder why they don't get dinged for that. The most improved company will be JWA, Japan Pro Wrestling Alliance. They are in an alliance with the National Wrestling Association, and Antonio Inoki is their figurehead. They are Colt, and apparently they're ranked the number 1 company in the world. Good for them. So real quick, let's go ahead. We'll take a look at their teams. Oh my goodness, they've got quite a lot of teams. So let's just read through them. We've got Bernard and Ripper, Johnny Bernard and Ripper Collins. We got B.I. Cannon, Giant Baba and Antonio Inoki. Bobby and Burke, Tommy Martin and Terry. Why are their names Bobby and Burke? What? It's Tommy Martin and Terry Martin. Okay. Then we got Bobo and Eduardo Carpentier and Bobo Brazil. Colton DeMarco, Ron Reed and Paul DeMarco. Crazy Luke and Skaluna? I don't know. Luke Graham and Mike Valentino. Then we go to Dr. Moto and Arakawa. Dr. Moto and Misu Arakawa. Ham Lee and Steamboat. Sam Steamboat and Philip Ham Lee. Inoki and Makaki. I'm, again, not sure if I'm pronouncing any of these names right. Makaki is Yoshimuro and Antonio Inoki. Carson and Baxter, Crusher Carlson and Tarzan Baxter. King Curtis and Maniac, Curtis Iowaki, I think I pronounced that right, and Mark Lewin. Strong Kobayashi and Thunder Sugumi. Kobayashi and Sugumi. I said that backwards, by the way. Ley Ola Blanca, Dr. Wagner and Angel Blanco. Mariano and Rivera, Dino Lanza and Victor Rivero. Matasoko and Uada, Mr. Ito and Mr. Ota. The Minnesota Wrecking Crew 2, Rock Rogowski and Gene Anderson. Mr. Ebony and The Pro, Tom Jones and Tarzan Baxter. Mr. Wrestling 1 and 2, Mr. Wrestling 1 and Johnny Walker. I'm assuming that is Wrestling number, or Mr. Wrestling 1 or 2. You know what I'm trying to say. Murphy and Bernard, Root Bernard and Skull Murphy. Racing Henning, Harley Race and Larry Henning. Damn, I bet that's actually a really good team. Renastro and Mahler, Assassin 1 and Larry Hamilton. Sammartino and Batman, Bruno Sammartino and Dino Lanza. That must be Batman in WWF. Sammartino and Bobo, Bruno Sammartino and Bobo Brazil. Stevens and High Chief Maivia, Peter Maivia and Ray Stevens. Tanaka and Kazutsu, Great Kazutsu and Tadaharu Tanaka. We have the Assassins, both Assassin 1 and 2. The Bastian brothers, Lou Klein and Red Bastian. The Blonde Bombers, Pat Patterson and Ray Stevens. The Demolition Crew, Mark Lewin and Frankie Lane. The Gladiator and Patterson, Pat Patterson and the Gladiator. The Hamilton brothers, Assassin number 2 and Larry Hamilton. The Kentuckians, Man Mountain Campbell and Grizzly Smith. The Lewin brothers, The Executioner and Mark Lewin. The Negro brothers. Cyclone Negro and Buddy Silverwolf. YouTube, don't demonetize me for that. That's not my fault. The Ripper and Outlaw. Eddie Sullivan and Rip Tyler. The Sheep Herders. We all know these guys. It's this is the Bushwhackers. Nick Carter and Bushwhacker Luke. So nice to see the Sheep Herders. I gotta watch a Sheep Herders match too, because I hear they're like apparently very vicious compared to what they are as the Bushwhackers. Yokochuki and Ito. Again, not sure if I pronounced these right. That'd be Chati Yokokuchi and Mr. Ito. And that is the end of the teams, thank God. So let's look at their titles here. We got their World Championship, which is the All Asia Heavyweight title. And it looks like we started the year with Kentaro Oki as our champion, and he's remained champion throughout the entire year. So, strong champion in Kentaro Oki. Looks like Rico Dozan, or Rico Dozan. I think I pronounced that right there. Was the first champion. We then move to the All Asia Tag Team Championships. And again, it would appear that Antonio Inoki and, oh boy, Mikaki Yoshimura have been the tag champions for the entire year. For the entire year of 1970. In fact, they won the titles in 1969, so even longer than that. We then go to the NWA International Championship, which is a main event title that can only be won by light heavyweight or people at the minimum of a light heavyweight, I should say. Again, Giant Baba has been the champion for the entire year of 1970. In fact, he's been champion since 1968. Good Lord. We then go to the NWA International Tag Team Championships, a mid-card title. And again, Antonio Inoki and the Giant Baba have been champion for the entire year of 1970. In fact, they've been champion since 1969. We then go to the World Big League, which is a tournament title scheduled for every May. And it would seem that this year the winner was Antonio Inoki. And then we go to the World Tag League, which was held for the first time this year. And it looks like our winners were Giant Baba and Antonio Inoki. There you go. All right. They're pretty good. I'm surprised that they're a cult company, to be completely honest. Let's go to their top 100. Now, we don't care about any of this, even though they do have a little bit of different names, but we're just really caring about the matches. So their number 1 rated match was Giant Baba defeating Antonio Inoki, which got a solid A rating. And at number 2, Dick Breyer defeating Antonio Inoki, also a solid A rating. And then from 3 to 9, we have all B+ rated matches. Kentaro Oki defeating Giant Baba, Dick Breyer defeating Antonio Inoki, Giant Baba defeating Abe Jacobs, Giant Baba defeating Antonio Inoki, Giant Baba defeating Kentaro Oki, Giant Baba defeating Kentaro Oki, and Kentaro Oki defeating Curtis Ioika. And then finally, at number 10, with only a solid B rating, Mr. Sayoto defeating Antonio Inoki. Inoki loses a lot, it looks like. And that's really all we care about from here. Let's go ahead and tour the company before we jump off of this. So Japan Pro Wrestling Alliance are a cult-sized company who are based in the Kanto region of of Japan. They are financially strong with 2 TV shows on air. A very well-regarded company. They are ranked number 1 out of 38 in the world in terms of popularity and are the 24th richest company. Now that's kind of interesting to me. They're not the richest company in the world, but they are the most popular company in the world. It's kind of interesting. All right. And then let's move on with our awards here. We got the Manager of the Year, which went to Bobby Davis. Bobby Davis, let's see who he works for, just out of curiosity. HW and WSS. Not exactly sure what those are. He's a semi-active wrestler, though. I wonder if he's had any matches. No, he has not. He just works mostly as a manager. Interesting. And then we move to our Announcer of the Year, which is Bob Codle. And he works for Jimmy Crockett Promotions and Stampede Wrestling. And we move on to our Color Commentator of the Year, which is Lord Athol Layton. And he works for the NWF and BTW Detroit. And then our Referee of the Year goes to... where the hell is his name? Dick Warhol. That name sounds familiar, actually, if I pronounced it correctly. And he's a referee for the WWF, so WWE pretty much. And that goes for the awards there. So real quick, I did notice something here. Bob Roop looks like he won a championship. So what is this? Championship Wrestling from Florida. I'm assuming it's this. Yeah. So where is this Southern Tag Team Championships? Is that it? I don't think it is. It says maybe it's these, right? Yeah, it's at the bottom right. Ugh, I clicked on the wrong thing. So the first match of the night, our homeboy, Bob Roop, teamed up with Dick Steinborn to defeat the Duke Miller, and Masa Saito for the NWA United States Tag Team titles. Bob Roop getting some gold around his waist. Good for Bob Roop. All right. Doesn't look like anything else really here. I thought that said the end of pro wrestling. I was like, huh? Can that happen? Just everyone kind of, hiring people or... Oh, look, Giant Baba has come home. Good for him. All right. So now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's take a look at the Power 500 real quick. I'm curious to see who are kind of like... I guess we'll do the top 22 since that's what we see. Hey, wait a second. So they show in 1969 that they were rated. That's interesting. But we don't see end of the year awards from 1969. Now that's kind of interesting. But let's go ahead and look at this real quick. So number 1, of course, John Cortes, who apparently was number 67 and last year. Number 2, Vern Gagne, who was number 8 last year. Number 3, Pat Connor, who was number 27 last year. Number 4, The Destroyer, who was number 47. Number 5, Killer Carl Cox, who is number 113. Wow, he jumped up quite a lot. Number 6, Waldo Von Erich, who is number 28 last year. At number 7, Dory Funk Jr., who is number 12. Number 8, Bobo Brazil, who is number 13. At number 9, Harley Race, who is number 19. Number 10, Woohoo McDaniel, who is number 55 last year. At number 11 is Gorilla Monsoon, who was number 72 last year. Number 12, Mr. Wrestling, who was number 65 last year. At number 13 is Luke Graham, who was rated at number 112 last year. And then we move on to number 14, which is Blackjack Lanza, who was now rated at who was rated at 110 last year. Then we move on to Ernie Ladd, who was number 38 last year. And then at number 16, Mike Mariano, who was number 166. At number 17 is Bill Watts, who was rated at number 63 last year. And then at 18, I believe this is our first drop. Yeah, at 18 is Antonio Inoki, who was rated at number 4 and now dropped down. We then go to number 19, which is Rip Hawk, who was at number 57 last year. At 20 is the Giant Baba, who was number 25 last year. 21 will be Jackie Fargo, who dropped down quite a lot as well. He was number 7 last year. And then finally, we move on to Danny Hodge, who is 22, and he was ranked at number 133 last year. I'm not going to go through them all because it's 500 wrestlers, and that would take quite a while. But I will do one thing. I want to see where our stars are rated. So Giles Poison, a.k.a. Alex the Butcher, or not Alex, no, he's Alex the Butcher. Alex the Butcher is our best rated wrestler apparently. He is number 137. We then go to Jerry Monty, who is ranked number 247. Roger Brown, 254. Don Savage, 286. Bob Roop, 378. Ripper Savage, or Don Ross, a.k.a. Ripper Savage, I should say, ranked at 450. And Jimmy Snuka, 489. So not even all our wrestlers made it onto here, only a few. Real quick, I want to address one thing real quick about alliances. So we do have alliances in this world. We got the joint promotions, which is I guess, I don't know what the joint promotions are. I'm assuming it's kind of like the NWA, but they're rivals at the time or whatever. And then, of course, we have the National Wrestling Alliance, which everybody is pretty much a part of. And I'm not joining any of these alliances. I'm kind of going to be working on my own. I don't want to work with an alliance unless I have to. So we're just kind of working on our own right now. Besides, an alliance really, I feel like, would not benefit us because it's not like we can hire anybody from any of those alliances because they're probably super expensive. And, I mean, we don't have a whole lot of people to offer to the other alliance as well. So might as well just try to build ourselves up without the alliance at all. As you can see, though, we did go ahead and have a loss this month, or I should say in December. I knew we were going to have a loss. I think I even told you guys that. Let's go ahead and really kind of go over our finances now. It won't let me go over to January for some reason. You would think it would have it in here. But as you can see, this is mostly just hosting one show a month. And I think this one right here, we didn't host any show a month. Yeah, no ticket sales. So that was the month we missed and messed up on, and that kind of set us back a little bit. But really, just holding a show once a month gives us around like a $2,000, sometimes only $1,000, and sometimes even under $1,000 profit. We lost money last time because we used everybody that we have under contract, pretty much. I knew we were going to lose money. I was willing to lose money. December's kind of like the big show to me. Like, it's where it's like, here's your Christmas gift to everybody. You're getting paid. Go get your kids something nice, pretty much. So as you can see, I really don't think we can afford to run 2 shows a month, especially with like the industry falling and the economy falling right now. So we're gonna have to kind of stick to only 1 month shows until the economy at least raises up, so I can afford to do that kind of thing. But yeah, the workers get paid around $3,000 to $4,000, all together. We only make around $1,000 if we're lucky in tickets. We're really relying off our sponsors right now to pay our workers pretty much. But it's a work in progress. Nothing we can do about it, but just keep working at it. So we can go ahead and I'll show you guys real quick. Where's it at? Here it is. If we look at America, yeah, both the economy is falling and it's at a 43 solid D rating right now, which is unfortunate, and the wrestling industry is falling and it's at a 62 solid C. So hopefully soon one or both of these start to rise. I think in Canada, they're rising in both. So Canada's doing really well, and I think they're about one of the only ones. Oh, the British Isles economy is rising, but the wrestling industry is falling. And Japan is rising in the economy. Wrestling industry is falling, though, although they've got a pretty good wrestling industry right now. Europe may be on the rise here in this upcoming year because both their wrestling industry and economy is starting to rise. And it looks like Australia has a failing economy, but the wrestling industry is starting to rise. So really, Europe and Canada are promising for the next year, but I'd say everywhere else kind of is going to have a little bit of a struggle. Maybe not Japan so much, but everywhere else for sure. So let's go ahead and let's look at some of the other companies real quick before we move on to our roster. Now, I'm only going to go over the big companies, or at least some of the companies that I recognize. I'm not going to be going over every single one, and we're not going to be going over like the AWA because I've already kind of gone over the AWA. So with that being said, let us go through this. So All-Star Wrestling is kind of familiar to me. Although I don't really know anything about it, I recognize it, So let's go ahead and let's just take a look at some of those things. They only have one team. They got Express Delivery, which is Dog Donovan and Wayne Coleman. Look at some of their titles. They only got 2 championships. One main event title, which is currently being held by Steve Bolus. And it looks like he started off the year as champion in 1970. And then lost it to John Tolis. It's crazy how their names seem like they rhyme. And then he had to vacate it, and then Steve Bolus became champion once again. And then they have the NWA Canadian Championship, or Tag Team Championships. And it looks like they've had quite a few champions throughout this year for the titles. They are currently vacated, but it looks like we've seen like Dean Ho and Steve Bolus be champion, then that vacated. Then Jerry London and Eric Froelich, then vacated. Then Jerry London and John Tolis, then vacated. Then the Claw and Jerry London, then vacated. Then Jack Benson and Tony Bourne, then not vacated. Someone actually beat them for the titles. Lonnie Main and Gil Haynes. And then they had to vacate the titles. Interesting championship there. And let's go ahead. We'll look at their top 100 and look at their matches. They've got The Sheik going over Gene Kinski in their top 2 matches. Dean Ho defeating John Quinn at number 3. Gene Kinski defeating Lonnie Main at number 4. Moose Morowski defeating Gene Kinski at number 5. Moose Morowski defeating Gene Kinski at number 6. And then at number 7, Moose Morowski going to no contest with Gene Kinski. Number 8, John Quinn going to double DQ with Lonnie Main. And number 9 and 10 are going to be both Moose Morowski going over Gene Kinski. Interesting stuff there. Let's go ahead and tour the company real quick. Ranked number 30 out of 38, 23rd richest company overall, and their top stars are Gene Kinski, who's been with ASW for over a decade, the powerhouse Dean Ho, the powerhouse Moose Morowski, the menacing Archie Goldie, and the reigning ASW International Champion Steve Bullis. All right. Moving on, let's see. Anything that I recognize. Well, there's EMLL. I recognize EMLL, but really only because of Total Extreme Wrestling. I've seen that name quite a lot. So they've got Los Tres Caballero, which is Anibal and oh boy, I'm not going to be able to pronounce a lot of these names. El Sortiro, Los Villanos number 2, which has got Villano 1 and 3. Los Villanos number 3, which has got Villano 2 and 3. The Neon Express, which has got Irma Gonzalez and Vicky Williams. The Heavenly Bodies, Don Green and Al Green. The Killers, Kiko Torres and the Champ. The McGuire Twins, Billy McGuire and Benny McGuire. The New Legends, Jose Molnar and Jimmy Snuka. Hey, he's familiar. The Red Devils, Great Goliath and Black Gordman. And the Street Team, Eddie Lopez and Sunny Warcloud. They've got quite a lot of titles. I'm not going to go through their... Well, maybe I will. It doesn't look like it's that bad. So we've got the Mexican National Heavyweight Champion, which is actually a mid-card title to my surprise. And you have to be at least a light heavyweight to compete. And it's currently held by Josef Molnar. Started off 1970 with Great Goliath as a champion, then went to Cyclone Negro, and now Josef Molnar. We then go to the Mexican National Light Heavyweight Championship, which you have to be at least, at minimum, a middleweight, and at max weight, a light heavyweight, maybe? I don't know. And it looks like we started off the year with Raul Mata as champion, and then he lost it to Johnny Weaver. We then have the Mexican National Lightweight Championship. I don't know why I keep calling it Mexico first. You have to be a maximum lightweight for this. And it looks like we started off with Rodolfo Ruiz as our champion, and now it is Kiko Torres. And then we have the Mexican National Middleweight Championship. You'll never guess what you have to be for this one. And it looks like for the entire year, Reno Gajardo, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, has been champion. We then go to the Mexican National Tag Team Championships, which started off with El Santo and Rayo de Josco. And they lost the titles to Ray Mendoza and White Man. Okay. And then there's the Mexican National Welterweight Championships. And it looks like Karloff Lagarda has been champion for the entire year of 1970. And then there's the Mexican National Women's Championship, which is currently held by Shabella Romero, I believe. And then we have the NWA Championship. So the NWA World Light Heavyweight Championship, which started off the year as a vacated championship, then went to Sugisito, and now is held by Whitesman. And then there's the NWA World Middleweight Championship, a main event title. Was this one? Oh, they're both main event titles. Looks like we started off with El Sortiro as our champion, and Ray Mendoza beat him for it. And he actually looks like he beat him in the beginning of the year of 1970, and has held it since. So he's been a year-long champion. And then finally, with the NWA World Welterweight Championship, also a main event title. For the entire year, it has been held by Karloff Lagarde. Good for him. All right, let's go ahead and look at their top 100 real quick. Top 100 matches. We'll go from 10 to 1 this time. So at number 10, we've got El Santo and El Rayo defeating Chico and Moraz. Number 9, Reina Garado taking on Anibal. Number 8, El Santo and El Rayo went to a double countout with Lagarde and the Calypso Kid. Number 7, El Santo and El Rayo defeated Lagarde and the Calypso Kid. At number 6, Largado defeated Sugi and El Principal de Sada. Number 5, Rayo de Josco defeated Tokyo Tom. Number 4, Reina Guato defeated Rayo de Josco. Number 3, El Santo and El Rayo defeating Lagrado and the Calypso Kid. All right. Number 2, Reina Guato defeating Dory Dixon, and their number 1 match of the year with believe that's an 81 solid B, Mendoza and the White Man defeating La Ola Blanca. And let's go ahead and tour the company real quick. They're apparently ranked number 2 in the world. Interesting. Good thing we checked them out then, because I wanted to check out at least the top companies too. And they are apparently the 3rd richest company in the world as well. So, hey, EMLL is actually doing really good. The most popular stars are the supremely athletic Ricky Starr, El Santo, who has been with EMLL for over a decade. I think we all know who El Santo is. Rayo de Josco, who has been with EMLL for over a decade. Blue Demon, a true locker room leader, and Black Shadow, another true locker room leader. I'm going to say that this is a company everyone should probably watch out for. All right. Moving on. There's us, of course, but I'm not going to look at us. We've already looked at this company. They are number 1. So let us go ahead and look at Jim Crockett Promotions, a company that I think we all recognize. We'll look at their teams first. I'm not going to look at the rosters just because the rosters could be huge and I don't feel like going through the whole roster. So we've got the Blonde Bombers, Rip Hawk and Swede Hansen. Killer Thriller, Buck Robley and Steve Rickard. Pain Game, Sweet Georgia Brown and Pat Sherry. Rose and Cristanolo, Princess White Cloud and Tony Rose. Okay. The Flying Scouts, George... Oh, does I say Scots? No, the Flying Scots, I believe. George Scott and Sandy Scott. The Highlights, Barbara Owens and Judy Glover. The Infernos, Inferno 1 and Inferno 2. The Map Mafia, Penny Banner and Sue Green. Interesting team for a lot of these women teams. Or interesting names for these women teams, I should say. Weaver and Mr. Wrestling, Johnny Weaver and Mr. Wrestling. And Wiki Wiki and Suzuki. Mari Suzuki and Oni Wiki Wiki. So got their championships. They have 2 titles. They've got the NWA Atlantic Coast Tag Team titles, which looks like they started off being held by George Becker and Johnny Weaver. And I'm only talking about 1970, so ignore them. So George Becker and Johnny Weaver. And then Inferno number 1 and Rugged, Russian Ivan. And then it went to Sandy and George Scott. And then finally, the first ever champions, Rip Hawk and Swede Hansen, got their championships back in September of 1970. They've already defended it 11 times, too. Jesus. And then we have the NWA Eastern States Heavyweight Championship. It started off as a vacated championship and won in 1970. So Art Thomas has been our Eastern State Heavyweight Champion for the entire year of 1970. All right. Let's go ahead and look at their top 100 real quick. Of course, just the matches. We'll go from 10 to 1 again here. So at number 10, we got Swede Hansen going to double countout with Mr. Wrestling. Number 9, Waldo Von Erich defeating George Scott. Number 8, Missouri Mauler defeating Paul Jones. At number 7, Rip Hawk defeating Paul Jones. Number 6, Mr. Wrestling defeating Nelson Royale. At number 5, the Blonde Bombers defeating Weaver and Mr. Wrestling by countout. At number 4, the Flying Scots defeat the Blonde Bombers. Number 3, Waldo Von Erich defeated Mr. Wrestling. And all those matches had a B+. And at number 2, with a solid A rating, we got the Blonde Bombers going over Weaver and Mr. Wrestling by countout. And at number 1, with a A-star rating, Waldo Von Erich goes over Mr. Wrestling. And let's tour the company as well real quick. So JCP are number 5 out of number 38 and the 4th richest company in the world. Their top stars are the Technical Wrestling Master, the Technical Wrestling Master, Mr. Wrestling, there we go. The reigning NWA Eastern States Heavyweight Champion, Art Thomas. The Missouri Mauler, a 39-year-old working under a pay-per-appearance contract. The Cole Holder of the NWA Atlantic Coast Tag Team title, Swede Hansen. And the Chain Wrestling Machine, Sandy Scott. All right. Moving on, what do we got here? Oh, that's the National Wrestling Federation. I was going to be like, the NWA? What? I thought they were an alliance. Let's look at Stampede Wrestling. So we'll go to Stampede Wrestling. Of course, Stu Hart is the booker and promoter. It's a part of the NWA Wrestling Alliance, apparently. All right, so let's go ahead and look at our teams. They have no teams in Stampede. Okay, let's look at our titles. But they have a tag team. They got the International Tag Team Championships, which are currently vacated. But it looks like they were held by Bobby Christie and Jerry Christie, maybe? Yeah. Looks like they were our first champions of the year. And then Abdullah the Butcher and Bob Sweeten beat them for the titles. And then I guess they had to vacate the championships. We then have the Stampede Championship, which is apparently a main event title as well. And it was actually just, I believe it just recently formed, it looks like. It looks like it was formed in December. So our first champion is Sweet Daddy Siki. All right. And then we have the Stampede Heavyweight Championship, which I'm also assuming is... What? Do they have 2 world championships that were created in the same year? In the same month? That's what it's looking like to me. Either way, the Stampede Heavyweight Champion is Dave Rule. Not exactly sure what's going on there. Their top 100 matches, starting from 10 to 1, we've got Angelo Mosca going over Billy Robinson. At number 9, Dangerous Danny going over Dangerous Danny and Abdullah defeating the Phenomenals. Let me read that right. At number 8, Billy Robinson defeating Abdullah the Butcher. Number 7, Bob and Dangerous Danny defeating Rule and Robinson. Number 6, Dangerous Danny and King Kong defeating Rule and Robinson. Number 5, Bob Sweeten defeating Angelo Mosca. Number 4, Robinson and Bob defeat Abdullah and Dangerous Danny by DQ. Number 3, Billy Robinson defeating Angelo Mosca. And at number 2, we got Dave Rule defeating Billy Robinson. So all those matches were solid Bs. And at number 1, we got a B+ rated match with Danny Lynch going over Billy Robinson. And let's go ahead and tour this company real quick. Stampede Wrestling with 15 active wrestlers, apparently. Most popular stars are the heavyweight champion, the Stampede heavyweight champion, I should say, Dave Rule. And then now the reigning Stampede championship champion, Sweet Daddy Siki. The hardcore warrior, Danny Lynch. Okay. Vic Reigns, a top quality brawler. And Bob Sweeten, a 30-year-old working under a pay-per-appearance contract. All right, this is Supreme Professional Wrestling. They actually just started not that long ago. So, August of 1970, as you can see. So, I want to take a look at them actually real quick, just because they are a new company. So, they're kind of like the newest company besides us. So, they don't have a national tag team champion yet, but their top contender, which is their mid-card champion, is Jim Durango. And the world champion started off with Mephisto and recently was just won by Ken Lucas. Their top 100 matches, they haven't... Okay, never mind. Well, they haven't had a lot of shows, but they have had enough matches to at least have a top 10. So starting from number 10, we got Jim Durango going over Intern at number 2. And then Inferno, number 1, at number 9, going over Bob Boyer. Number 8, Don and Invader 1 going over Alex Medina and Gerald Briscoe. Number 7, Invader number 1 going over Gerald Briscoe. At number 6, Don Wright going over Ken Lucas. And all those were D+ rated matches. We then go to our top 5, which are all C- rated matches. So at number 5, Ken Lucas goes over Mephisto. That was probably for the World Championship too. Mephisto goes over Jim Durango at number 4. At number 3, Mephisto goes over Ken Lucas. Number 2, Jim Durango defeats Inferno 1. And our best match of the year for SPW. It was going crazy. They even got some names for their shows. Is Mephisto going over Jim Durango. So since they got names, let's go ahead and look at the events. So top events from 5 to 1, we got Night of Combat at number 4, Hellhole. Number 3, Changing History, 1970. Number 2, Take No Prisoners. And number 1, Going Crazy. Good stuff. All right, so let's move forward. We got TriState. Mostly just going to look at the WCW and probably the WWF at this point, because I don't really recognize the other one. So we've got World Championship Wrestling here. Now, World Championship Wrestling isn't what you'd think it'd be at this time. It's not the WCW as we all know it to be. They are currently a regional company being owned and booked by Jim Barnett, and they are ranked 23 in the world. So let's go ahead and look at some of their teams first. They only got a couple of teams. They got Cataclysm, the Red Devil, and Peter Cortes. King Curtis and Killer, Curtis Iowaka and Buddy Austin. The Rising Force, Murphy the Magnificent and Tiger Jeet Singh. And the Nonconformist, George Barnes and Dr. Death. Current titles, they've got the NWA World Heavyweight Championship, which I guess is just a WCW World title. I'm not sure what that WCW behind it is. They started off with Curtis Iowaka, or Iokea, I'm still not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, as the world champion. And then it went to Spyros Aaron, and then the Executioner number 1. And then the title was vacated until Skull Murphy became champion. And then finally, Spyros Aaron gets the championship back. And he won that actually pretty recently as well, in December. And then we have the NWA World Tag Team Championships, which actually are currently vacated right now. We started off with Bobby Austin and Curtis Iowaka as a champion, and then it vacated, and then Skull Murphy and Curtis Iowaka, and now it's vacated again. Top 100 matches, starting from 10 to 1. At number 10, we got Murphy and King Curtis going over the Red Devil and the Golden Greek. And at number 9, Executioner 1 defeated William Hall, and those were both C+ rated matches. We then go to number 8, which is Murphy and King Curtis going over the Red Devil and Executioner number 1. Number 7, Curtis Iowaka, again, not sure if I'm pronouncing it right, goes over Skull Murphy. Number 6, Spires Aaron defeated Executioner number 1. Number 5, Curtis Iowaka defeats Executioner number 1. Number 4, Executioner number 1 defeats Curtis Iowaka. And all those matches were B- rated. So the final 3, the top 3, are solid B-rated matches here. So at number 1, we got Skull Murphy going over Curtis Iowaka. Number 2, Skull Murphy going over Curtis Iowaka. And at number 1, Skull Murphy going over Curtis Iowaka. They must have some good chemistry, I would assume. Let's go ahead and tour the company real quick. They aren't considered very prestigious, ranked 23 out of 38 in the 27th richest company. Their their most popular stars are the charismatic Curtis Iowaka. Their rating, what is that? IWA World Champion? It's not even NWA, it's IWA. Okay. Spires Aaron, or Iron. The Masked Wrestler, the Red Devil, Buddy Austin, who's working under a pay-per-appearance, and Renee Golett, who's also working under a pay-per-appearance. And then finally, let's end it off with the Worldwide Wrestling Federation, currently owned by Vincent J. McMahon and booked by Arnold Scotland. They are a cult-rated company, and they are number 3 in the world. So let's go ahead and look at their teams first. They've got quite a lot of teams. DiNucci and Jumpin' Johnny, Dominic DiNucci and Johnny DeFazio. DiNucci and Rivera, Dominic DiNucci and Victor Rivera. The Jamaican Kid and Bradley, Jamaican Kid and Cowboy Bradley. Are they? I think they're midgets. I think they're little people. Low and Brutus, Little Brutus and Sky Lolo. Wouldn't be surprised that they are also little people. Mariano and Rivera, Batman. And Victor Rivera. Team Million, Rita Bashore and Ethel Johnson. The Advantagers, Gene Atone and Kay Knoll. The Destructors, Betty Nicoli and Kathy Starr. The Enemy State, Angelo Mosca and Danny Littlebear. The Russian Bear and Crusher, Ivan Koloff and Karl Kovacs. And the Sicilians, Lou Albano and Tony Altmore. Alright, so let's go ahead and look at their championships. Fabulous Moolah. Oh, I was going to say Fabulous Moolah still continuing her reign, but she actually did lose the championship. I think she just recently got this back not too long ago. Yep, in November. So we started off the year with the Fabulous Moolah as the Women's World Champion. And she was champion since 1968, but then she lost it to Dono Cristianello, who then lost it to Marva Scott, and then Marva Scott recently losing it back to the Fabulous Moolah, who is now a 4-time women's champion. We then have the Women's World Tag Team Championships, which started out the year as a vacant title, then was won by Ethel Johnson and Rena Boucher, then vacated again. Then it went to Gina Atone and Donna Cristiello, once again vacated, and then finally we had Kay Noble and Jean Atone win the titles, and then were defeated by Marva Scott and Paula Kay. We then have the WWF International Tag Team Championships. We started off the year with Batman and Bruno Sammartino as our tag team champions. It then went to Lou Albano and Tony Altmore, and then Victor Rivera and Batman, and then finally, just recently capturing the titles here in December, Karl Kovacs and Ivan Koloff. Moving on, we got the WWF United States Championship. Looks like we started off the year with Gorilla Monsoon as the champion, and he went on to hold the title up until June, where he lost to Toru Tanaka. And Toru Tanaka has been champion since. We're going to skip the world title, and we're going to go to the World Junior Heavyweight Championship first, which right now is being held by George Steele. We started off the year with Johnny DeFazio as our champion. And then it went to Baron Michael Skulina, and then George Steele. So George the Animal Steele, current junior heavyweight champion. So he must be a lightweight at the moment. And our world heavyweight champion, Should be Bruno Sammartino, right? Like Bruno Sammartino, he's in the record long setting reign right now. Shouldn't be defeated for a long time to come. Yeah, he's no longer champion. We started off the year with Bruno Sammartino as our champion. He's held the championship since May of 1963, but in September of 1970, he's been finally dethroned by Killer Kowalski, who's been champion since. So Killer Kowalski, the world champion of the WWE. So history has already changed, as we should say. Let's go ahead and look at their top 100 rated matches. Starting from number 10, we've got Gorilla Monsoon defeating Baron Mikhail... What does that word say? Skaluna? Skaluna? I'm not sure. Number 9, Gorilla Monsoon defeating Johnny Rodz. At number 8, Killer Kowalski defeating Ernie Ladd. Number 7, Gorilla Monsoon defeating Ivan Koloff. At number 6, Gorilla Monsoon defeating Ivan Koloff again. And at number 5, Gorilla Monsoon defeating Toru Tanaka. And at number 4, we've got Waldo Von Erich defeating Gorilla Monsoon. Now, all those matches were rated as a B+ rating. Our top 3 are all solid A-rated matches. So at number 3, we got Gorilla Monsoon defeating Toru Tanaka. Number 2, Killer Kowalski defeating Ernie Ladd. And at number 1, Gorilla Monsoon defeating Ivan Koloff. Gorilla Monsoon may be their best wrestler. So let's go ahead and tour the company before we go and check out our company real quick. So the Worldwide Wrestling Federation are a cult-sized company based in the Tri-State region, very wealthy with one TV show on air. Well respected, they are ranked number 3 in 38 out of 38, and in terms of popularity, they are the 6th richest company overall. Oh, I didn't check out their most popular stars. Hold on. And their most popular stars are the reigning WWF World Heavyweight Champion, Killer Kowalski, the menacing Gorilla Monsoon, Ernie Ladd, who oozes star quality, the reigning WWF United States Champion, Toru Tanaka, and the co-holder of the WWF International Tag Team titles, Ivan Koloff. Is Bruno Sammartino still work here? Because you would think he'd be... Bruno Sammartino no longer works for the WWF. What? Bruno Sammartino? What? They let go of Bruno Sammartino? Why? Did he get hired somewhere? Oh, wow. He was hired by JWA. They legit stole him from the WWF. The JWA, I believe that was the Japanese company, correct? Japan Wrestling? Is that... I think this is them. Do they got Bruno? Wow. They stole Bruno Sammartino from the WWF. He's not even one of their top stars, right? Wow. History certainly has changed. The longest reigning champion for the WWF not only is no longer the longest reigning... well, he still is. But not only is he world champion anymore, because he had to lose the title, I'm assuming because he was hired by the JWA, but he doesn't even work for the company anymore. Wow. That's crazy, dude. I honestly didn't expect that. Alright, I know this video has been running on a little long. I appreciate you guys sticking around for as long as you have. So let's go ahead and let's just go over our roster real quick. And I'm not going to be as secretive as I am with the Invasion series that we do. I'm going to be a little bit more open with this, so I'm kind of going to be giving you guys an idea of where I want to take a lot of these guys and what my plans are for the future. So starting, we've got Rockin' Robert Fuller, who I recognize the name of, and now I know who he is. He was a former manager back in like the WCW and all that. He's actually, I believe, a current manager of Major League Wrestling right now. But he was just kind of like this Southern manager who, led, I believe, the stud stable and stuff like that. And it's now like a new thing in MLW. I believe he's like reforming the stud stable and all that. I just recently started watching MLW on YouTube, so I don't know everything, but let me say it pretty much caught me off guard when I saw Colonel Robert Fuller there. So right now we've got Rockin' Robert Fuller as kind of like a rock star gimmick. He's kind of teaming with our other rock star, superstar Jimmy Snuka. So there'll be a team. In fact, I did go ahead and give them a team name. So right now they are the Sexy Studs. Originally, I was going to try to stick with just like a Rockstar kind of name, but because he's got the stud stable in the future, I'm thinking we can kind of stick with the sexy studs, and maybe we'll have Rockin' Robert Fuller betray Jimmy Snuka in the future, a couple years from now or whatnot, and maybe he'll form the sexy studs and become Colonel Robert Parker then, and we'll do that whole thing with him and Jimmy Snuka if we get that far. But that's kind of my thought process with Robert Fuller and Jimmy Snuka. So pretty much what I just said about Robert Fuller applies the same here with Jimmy Snuka. He's going to be teaming with Rockin' Robert Fuller, and hopefully we'll be able to get a feud out of these two in a couple of years. We then have Alex the Butcher, who really can't play a babyface, so we got to keep him as a heel, which is kind of unfortunate because I wanted to feud him and Baron von Heisinger, but we got to play with our strengths, so they'll probably just abandon Baron von Heisinger. I don't have a lot of plans for a lot of these guys. I mean, it's not like I'm sitting here thinking overnight, so a lot of these guys may not have any plans. But Alex the Butcher being not only our best wrestler, I think he's actually currently ranked at number 1 in our creative meeting as well. So he'll probably see himself get a strong push and mostly challenge like probably Jody Arnold and for the the world title and whatnot. And maybe even become our first ever tag team champions when we eventually get some tag team titles. So then there's Alexis Smirnoff, who is just going to continue teaming with Alex the Butcher. Baron von Heisinger. Bob Roop, who I've got some good plans for. I'm going to try to push him to be one of our top guys. I mean, he's freaking fantastic. So he's got a legendary gimmick. So I think like a feud between him and Alex the Butcher would just be amazing in the future. There's Cousin Slim, Dino Bravo. Bravo's another guy who we're kind of trying to push up a little bit. More of like a promising young star. Don Arnold and Jody Arnold, their kind of gimmick is... Originally, I wanted Jody Arnold to turn heel at the last show. You know, him turn heel against Jerry Monty to win the championship. But it's too soon to turn him heel yet. So we kind of got to like wait a little bit here. So my plan is to pretty much have his Uncle Don kind of like starting off the heel turn. Like, you know, he's the bad guy. He's the one that cost Jerry Monty the title and gave it to Jody. And he's going to be trying to just getting into Jody's ear throughout like the upcoming year and all that until I can eventually turn him heel, pretty much saying, you know, we got to look out for our company. You know, we can't have guys, circus clown acts like Jerry Monty being champion. We need top guys like you, Jody, to be champion. And you need to do what needs to be done in order to make sure that this happens. Stuff like that, you know. So that's kind of the plan there. Ripper Savage will most likely be feuding with Bob Roop's upcoming, so hopefully him teaming with Bob Roop will help Ripper Savage get a little bit better in his in-ring abilities. And besides that, like I said, there's not really a whole lot of plans for some people here. Like, I just kind of roll with the punches and see what we can do. So it'll be interesting to see how this turns out. We got to really watch our money because the world is just gone to shit right now. Where is it at? We don't have, you know, anything going our way right now. Wrestling industry is falling. The economy is falling. Hopefully that rises up here soon. I would love to do more than one show a month, but we just can't afford it. I'd love to hire more people, but we just can't really afford it. I mean, we can, but then they'd be mad at me, and it would affect their matches if we don't get used. I mean, look at this. Ripper Savage is irritated at being left off the show. George Holtz, same reason. Irritated to be left off the show. They're not mad at me for any specific reason. They're just mad that I'm not booking them. And if I hire more people, that's more people just to get mad at me because I'm not booking them. So I'm trying to like keep the roster at the bare minimum right now. As you can see, we're a local company. We do not need minimum number of active wrestlers apparently. We've got 17. That's plenty for me right now. I try to stay on the cheap side. So if ever I can find cheap wrestlers, I always go ahead and hire them. But that's pretty much going to do it for this video. It's going to be the end. Real quick, I guess what we can go over is let us, as you can see, we still got our sub goals. We can't hire any luchadors. If we do, we have to unmask them. And we still apparently are going to have to raise our popularity in 50 regions in at least 2 places. And this will be our final year. So we only have 1 more year to do it. So let's go ahead and put 1 year and spell it right too, since we erased all the stuff. Or we got to give a mid-card or a championship, which really isn't that big of a deal, but I'm pretty sure we're not going to be able to do it. If we look at our current size, we are 9 rated popularity or importance, and our popularity is 10 in the Southwest. which is crazy because I don't remember losing popularity. But if you track our progress, we were at an 11 in October, and then somewhere along the way we lost popularity. Not sure how, but it happened. So we need to be an 11 importance to get to small. I think we can do that in 1970, but we won't be able to increase our popularity to 50. So I'm almost certain we're going to fail this one. If you guys want to redo this and maybe do something a little bit more fair, you're more than welcome to. But if not, I'm willing to take the punishment. I'm not going to lie to you. We're still a low company. It really wouldn't be that bad to give the mid-carder a championship. And like I said before, if we end up having to do that, I'm not going to just give him the title just to have him lose it. I'm going to try to make that mid-carder one of our top guys if we have to do that. So anyway, with that being said, that is going to be the end of the video. Actually, before I do end off the video, I will say one thing. I want to go ahead and like bring in some new wrestlers, like from different mods, so we can keep evolving it. So with 1980 coming up, I'd like to, I need to find a good 1980 mod, and I was wondering if you guys knew any like good mods from the or that are based in the 1980s, because the one mod I found, I don't believe you can download anymore. It just was weird. Like, it wouldn't let me download it or something, or didn't give me a download link. I don't remember it. All I remember is I wasn't able to download it, and it kind of sucks because I don't want to download like a 90s mod or something like that, because then certain superstars like Triple H, for instance, would be kind of overrated. Like, he'd probably have really good stats for his debuting year, whereas if we did like a 1980 mod, at least it'd be more close to what he was at that time, I believe. So if you guys have any good recommendations on any 1980s mods, definitely maybe leave a link in the comment below, or just comment in general. And if you guys have any more goals you want us to do, like me keeping a certain superstar, or making sure that they stay at a certain popularity, or raising them to a certain popularity, certain things like that, of course, go ahead and comment down below. It is a new year, so let's get some new challenges in here, perhaps, so anyway, this is going to be the only local to global video this week. I know I promised to do like 2 local to globals, but I just did 2 episodes of Invasion. That kind of